All right, I see myself. Right. Good evening, guys. Aradhana Tiwari here from Be the Change Page and founder of Be the Change Page and Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator. I just don't like telling myself. And empowering and transforming coach and everything. I guess I'm everything. So I just welcome you all here on this page, and I am always so looking forward to interview my new guest. So today we have a very, very amazing guest, Abhishek Gupta. So whose briefing I would give you a little bit later. First, I just wanted to give you a little brief, whosoever is joining us for the first time, that what this page is all about and what. Good evening, guys. Oh, sorry. See, I on my. I do all this. Sorry, guys. Anyways, hello Ritu, hello Rohini. All right. So it's about welcoming you to the space and place where you always knew something is possible, something your heart knew is possible, something which nobody else acknowledged, but you knew was possible. And you had been looking for that time and space that somebody will ever acknowledge you. But I have this saying that unless you do not acknowledge you, nobody else in the world acknowledges you. I'm so, so, so deeply grateful to everybody who has actually followed their heart and never given up in the face of this reality where you are so different, where you are not normal, where you're weird, but still you knew something special. Because that is something I always knew in my world, that there is something that I know, but nobody asked me that, what do I know? So I always wanted to have this platform where I actually invite people and ask them what you know and how are you creating and how can that knowing of yours can create a difference on the planet. And because we're always looking for a change, we never want the same things again and again repeatedly in our lives. And we would love to have that change, that excitement, that really, at least that excites me. So I look forward every Sunday to have somebody special who has actually followed their heart, who have actually created a difference in the society, in the space, and who are fresh, who are like new ideas. For me, they are the new celebrities of our lives. And I warmly, warmly welcome them all here. And that is, I look forward, and I'm really thankful and grateful to each one of you who actually comes here every Sunday to kind of be with me, to listen them. Even if nobody listens to me, it's so crazy that each talk show has brought up so much change in my life because I've learned so much from them. So today's guest is an amazing, amazing young chap, Abhishek Gupta, who is he's an IIT alumnus, and he has started this school called Nav Gurukul. So I would brief about him, and I'm really excited to share his journey because he is such an amazing guy. And it's always that I've always said that money follows joy, and it's not about money; it's about you. It is what you're creating out of joy, out of what actually gives you that ease and the joy and the excitement of creating on the planet, and that gives you some relaxation within you, not doing for the heck of doing it, but doing it because you wanted to do it. And he's following his heart, and how money is following him and the world is following him, and where he doesn't really want anybody to follow him. That is so exciting for me. So it's a great journey, and so Abhishek is an IIT Delhi alumnus, started off his career with his startup Zumbi, which was acquired shortly after he graduated from his college. His second startup, Frankly Me, raised $2.6 million from Matrix Partners and several other investors. A simple question of why is he spending time in not-for-profit sector despite having some financial leverage. He decided to join Delhi government on a bono basis to help bringing technology into classrooms and administration regarding education. During this time, he happened to meet a lot of students who were doing well in schools but failed to make a career out of it. He then decided in 2016 to start a non-profit called Love Gurukul for students for low-income communities to learn and get guaranteed jobs in software engineering. Isn't that amazing, guys? I'm so excited. So I would really welcome Abhishek Gupta here on this platform today. Abhishek, can we have you on screen, please?
Hello, yeah.
Hello, welcome, Abhishek. Thank you. I am so excited and thrilled to actually welcome you to this space. I am so looking forward for a talk. Thank you for saying yes to us. How did we get so lucky, and how did this platform get so lucky to have you here? So yes, on to you.
Uh,
If you would like to say a bit about yourself.
yeah. Right. Thank you, Radha, for the generous introduction.
It is not.
It's
It is
almost
amazing.
like it's almost like you creating a new image for yourself, and oh, I'm not that person. Anyhow, um, do you want me to go with my introduction, or how
Yeah.
should we
So
proceed?
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
so I just wanted you to start your journey where you started, like getting into IIT, like having spoken to
Yeah.
you. It was like how you were not really,
Right.
really into education. You're
Right.
really not very keen around education, but you're still at an
Yeah.
IIT. And I was so impressed with an IIT, and it's like it's not great to be an IITian. So can we start there? How young guys started this journey and where you
Got
started?
it. Yeah. Cool. I think like when I got into IIT, the funny story is that I got a good rank enough to get into IIT Delhi software engineering, but I was so competitive that I cried. Like I really cried that I couldn't score a better rank. So I think that's the one reason I didn't like my education really. I mean, even while I could do good, I didn't feel very happy about it. So a lot of these questions started coming in, and they did interfere with how do I look at education in my journey. Um, and I think that started very young as a question. Like, I mean, I was in fourth class, and even in that class, the people used to bully me, and I didn't even know what it really meant. And when I grew up, those questions became really important. Like, if you're talking about education system, and I'm talking about, let's say, my children, how would I be comfortable sending them to school while knowing that the probability of them getting bullied is reasonably very high throughout the school if you add it up, right? So I think I was in general someone who didn't have a lot of people when I was younger around me. So I used to sort of I think spend that time in reading or asking a lot of questions. That helped me in academics also, but I think largely it helped me to come up with some of the questions that I still am trying to answer.
You mean you have always operated from the space of questions?
A lot. Like and there was this funny thing, like I used to really hate weddings. Like I feel that they were a very obscene display of whatever people have to showcase. Um and and I just used to sometimes start crying in the middle of the marriages because I just found it so obscene. And
Was talking about it, Abhishek, if I may ask. Like,
yeah, so I sort of felt that instead of I just felt like people are not questioning enough. They're getting into things that they may not even know if they want to get into, like very small things. They used to impact me. Like in one of the weddings I realized that one of my sisters, it was like a dream, come true for her. But most of the time she was very, very nervous throughout the day. She was very nervous about how she is looking, how people are responding to her. Even if someone would say your sister is looking better than you, she would just snap out even if she knew it was a joke. So I mean, what I felt was that it just it just didn't make me feel that this is something that will make me happy if I
you meant
choose to
that
do it.
people were not present with what they're asking for and what they're doing and being.
Right. And also a lot of it was driven through what people wanted them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Keep others
question,
happy.
yeah. So it's not as much as about spending money or doing something lavish. It's just not knowing whether do you want it for yourself or not, or what's the core reasoning behind it.
Wow. I'm
So this,
amazed that you were questioning at that point of time in your life that is it required or not. That's so amazing.
yeah, and the funny situations to happen because there's this time I was crying a lot in the wedding of my sister, and people thought he's just so sad that his sister is going to go away. But the fact was, I was just so sad and crying what's happening around me. But anyhow, I think those questions really helped me a lot. Um, so I got into IIT then, and I think initial time was very nice because I could see that there were a lot of passionate people, people who had focus and people who had dreams and aspirations. Something that I felt that I didn't see in my school as much. So I really felt connected to the community initially, but I think slowly I started becoming disconnected, just by the virtue of the fact that most of the people were only and only focused on very specific things, or they would
What
waste their
were
time,
the
or I mean, just spend their time playing games.
what were those specific things that were making you upset about?
Right. So, for example, in our third year, the Nirbhaya rape happened, and like there's a lot of movement going on in the country to reflect for change. So, when me and some of my friends we started a movement called Feminist Bee in our college, and the kind of reception was so disheartening because it seemed like nobody really cared. They were not willing to question anything, and the sexism was not even hidden. It was like just out there. Even the abuse in our college, unfortunately, is can be a lot, especially because it tend to be a very male-dominated college. So I think the space to reflect and sensitization was completely a miss, and that really ticked me off. And I think for almost 3 years of my college, I just stayed in the labs instead of staying in the hostel because I couldn't feel connected to
You
the
used to
people
sleep in the
in terms
lab.
of what
That's
they
what you
wanted.
told me, right? That you used to sleep in the labs.
Yeah, I think I perfected the art of sleeping on chairs. So there were three revolving chairs that I used to put and then sleep. And the trick was to not move because if you move, you will fall. But yeah,
Wow. So
um,
you did not,
but
to the extent you were so pissed off with the bullying and the insensitivity that you actually started sleeping in the
yeah,
labs.
I think in college there's no bullying. We had pretty rigorous laws against racking. So there's hardly any bullying in our college. But I think in general, the sensitivity was very amiss. And also people, I think in the hostel they used to have very sexist ways of dealing with things, and I just could not relate with it.
Mhm.
And my group was entirely different in terms of the people I used to talk to. So I just felt like I think it was more of going away
But
from
you
my
were
male
weird
friends.
and different all the time.
Yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah.
you received it well. You were okay with your difference. You were okay with your own self.
No, I don't think so. I think it was a very hard journey. Initially, it started with a lot of shame. Like when I started understanding gender, it came with a lot of shame of how I've been living my life before. And I think a lot of that came because I had a very conservative upbringing. So many ideas were very naive, I would say. And so when something will come to me, instead of embracing my past, I think I would put that into a box of shame. So I think that way it was a difficult journey in some ways. Even mental health. So when I think I dated people who were going through mental health issues. I think initially I didn't understand, and but finally when I really understood it, by that time I have made some mistakes. So that had a lot of cost on how I used to think about my own self.
Mhm.
And I think it's only very recently
You
that
don't
I've
mind, would
started.
you like sharing, like what was that weirdness and what was the shame all about, if you don't mind sharing that. And you, because
Right.
every student goes through that, and we all who are so different go
Yeah.
through it, and we hold that shame forever.
Right. So it's almost like, let's say, I cannot go into specifics because there's a person involved
Right.
here, but
Yeah.
just to give you a similar situation, let's say you are dating someone and there are certain things, let's say because of any bipolar or anything, and you don't know what's happening. And when you don't know that, probably you'll react in a way which is not entirely or appropriate or the best possible way to do that. So, and when you start realizing what happened, you feel like, oh shit, I should have known that. I really ended up hurting someone because I didn't know. Um, and I think that becomes problematic. That became problematic for me to realize that there was a way from, I felt that there was a way for me to push myself to know more. So instead of just saying that, oh, I don't know, it's not my fault. When I started attending some of these workshops, I realized that there's actually a way to learn all of these things.
So you were
So
taking self responsibility, you mean? You started taking.
right, right. So, and I think because of that, a lot of, sometimes a lot of blame came in, like why I couldn't learn this earlier, why I couldn't be more sensitive.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are strong limitations to
Had you
that.
not that had that, you would have never learned and never taken the self responsibility. As I always say, everything has had some rightness to it, and what was right about it,
Yeah.
right?
I think at that moment it really worked. It's not working now, so I think I'm trying to get rid of that shame also. But
Yeah.
yeah, at that moment it helped me
Yeah.
also.
So what, it was not shame? What if it was just like just a way to actually take a self responsibility for you, which I get.
Yeah, I think there's a similar example where it was not driven through shame. So there's this relationship, and after which I felt unconscious about how I used to appear or look. So I thought I want to really work on that. And there was no shame in how, I mean, I didn't felt shameful about it. Just that I wanted to work on how do I look at myself in terms of body. So I started doing a lot of experiments. So, and I just came out of relationships. So I installed Tinder. And like, oh shit, I'm swiping left and right. And the first thing is I'm seeing face. So immediately I'm making a judgment on somebody's face, basically.
Wow.
And the first question that came just after seeing that was, so that clearly implies that I am going to judge myself on the similar parameters. There is no way that I have a judgment criteria that holds for people who are not me. It doesn't work that way. Subconsciously, we judge ourselves on the same parameters. If I know that your cake is good or bad, I can judge my cake also.
It's only
Similarly,
you see it when you're being it. You mean that? How amazingly consciously and present you have been always, Abhishek. I'm amazed. Wow.
so so I think so that was like almost 6 to 8 months journey when I started realizing that I can't stop judging myself unless I stop judging other people. And obviously, again, there were many like thoughts which I never really challenged. For example, feeling attracted to a kind of a kind of physical appearance. And again, I don't think it's bad to sort of do that. It's just that sometimes it's so systemically one-sided that it can end up being wrong. So that I started challenging, and then I started forming very simple rules about myself. Like one of the simple rules was, if I click a selfie, I will only take one, and whatever it looks like, it's fine. It's me. I don't want to take another one and say, oh, this one is better. Because again, when I say this selfie of mine is better, it means the previous one was not so good.
Wow. So no judgment
So
for you. I love that.
yeah, so I think similar. So this all journey was not driven through shame, and I think it worked really well for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then you actually moved on, and then you got into the money and the business and the work, and
Yeah.
money started showing up very well in your life. Can we talk about more about that and how you never wanted money? That was so amazing for me to hear from you, which was like, I really want to share that.
I think I still don't know if I want money or not. But what happened was when my first startup got acquired and second startup was also paying me generously, um, I started questioning my relationship with money. Like, how much money do I need? What would I do if I have lots of money? And so sometimes what I do is when I have these questions, I start asking people. It's like surveying. So I started surveying my friends. How much money do you need before you retire? What would you do if you have so much money? And almost all the answers had something in common, that it didn't require the money to do it. So the answers were very simple, like, oh, I'll go to a beach and buy a simple beach house. Um, Again, I'm talking about people who are earning 40 to 50 lakhs a year. So maybe if you're earning 3 lakhs a year or 4 lakhs a year, that's a different equation. If you're earning 40 lakhs a year, buying a beach house is maybe a 2 year journey for you. So similarly, most of the people told me things that they could have done without money, and yet they were not doing it. And one of the particular instances I remember was I went to a person and asked, how much money do you want before you retire? And he said 5 crores is a good number, because if I put 5 crores in my bank account, I'll get 5 lakhs every month by my right investments. But I said, you already have 10 crores. He said, oh yeah. So, I mean, the trap was clearly out there. There was no stopping basically. So instead of saying I don't need money, I basically said I need to decide how much money I need and proceed accordingly. And another thing that I really realized was that whatever I do, if I do it with interest, I'll grow. My money making power will only increase. So even if I'm running a non-profit right now, it does not mean I'm going to make lesser money than what I would have done 2 years ago. My money making power is only going to increase. So if I feel at some point I want to make money, I will make money.
So it's that simple to make money?
I think again, I'm not talking about huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
So for me, the amount didn't come out to be huge. Like I felt like 40 to 50 lakhs is a good amount of money for me to have a reasonable life. I will buy my own land near a village area, will build my own house, etc., etc. But I just think again, it depends on where you are in your life. But for someone like me, earning that amount of money or uh, saving that kind of amount is not very hard.
So what do you have to say on this, Abhishek? That what if this is a kind of a exchange? This reality requires money to actually bring up change. So if you'll have more money, you can bring up the change easily. What do you have to say on that?
So that depends if I am doing anything to bring change. I think or whatever I'm doing it to satisfy my own needs and places where I feel uncomfortable.
Wow.
So,
So
so
it's not
what?
about changing; it's about you.
Yeah, and I think one example that I use for that is, let's say if I was to only focus on change, I will not do a non-profit. I will actually go and work with the government, which I worked for a few months, primarily because the impact is crazy high. We're barely doing few hundred students a year. With
Mhm.
government, we can easily target few lakh students a year. So
And why would you not choose to do work with government? And what made you start the non-profit?
I think my own selfishness of what makes me interested to do something. Like I don't feel interested in, let's say, building policies or making sure those are being implemented well.
Mhm.
As a person, my energy is to create new things. So I felt like the problem exists. Nobody has worked on it very well. So maybe I'll pick it up and I'll solve it. And I joke around that ultimately I do want to be replaced as a CEO so that I do more experiments. So it's
Wow.
not as much as about, I mean, obviously change is important, change is the part of it.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is not the only thing or the most important thing which drives it. Even in change, what kind of change is important to me depends on what makes me feel passionate, right? So that's the reason why someone works on education, someone works on healthcare. There's no formula that.
What gives you kick in the non-profit organization and running, and how people, I mean, I was amazed at how every company is actually finding you out, and even the media has been finding you about you and wants to cover you and wants to, like, give you money. And it's so amazing to watch this journey. A man who says, I don't require money, and the world is running after him to take money. Can we hear more about that, please?
Yeah. So I think the best thing about non-profit sector is people. Like, to give you a very simple example, when we had startups and when we would hire people, right? So there were very different motivations of people coming in together. When you're running a non-profit and the people who join a non-profit, it's absolutely different energy. So
So how do
similarly,
you
when
scan
yeah,
them? How do you scan them? How do you know they're like up there with the passion? And
I think for us when we interview, a lot of our questions are not at all about work. They're really about who you are, what is important to you.
Mhm.
So a lot of times you just get into why, and sometimes candidates even get bored, um, I just want to do this job because this is a good job, and it's like it's not sufficient for us. You talk to more students, you identify at least what motivates us, because if you don't share similar motivational alignment, ultimately it will not be as fun. So I think just the people you're working with, just the people who are advising you, people who are in the sector, all together. Then even the donors, right? I mean, when you're running a for-profit, you go to people and you ask for money, and these are VCs. They have a very different mindset. And when you run to donors who give us money, I have I think far more intimate relationship with them than I had with my previous organization. I mean, investors in the previous organization. So I think there's a lot of intimacy in this sector. Actually, people are very close. They're very caring about each other.
so, what do you exactly do in this non-profit? If you can share
Yeah.
before that, we can go deeper into it.
Yeah. So we basically are into solving problem of higher education. So we feel that most of the higher education right now is in shambles. People, I mean, the colleges are not really working. So we have a 1 year course right now focused at software programming, where students come, they learn software engineering without teachers, without books, without examinations, and by the end of this 1 year, they get a job as a software programmer. And the idea here is that hopefully with this career, they would be able to catapult themselves to a journey where you and I belong. I mean, there'll not be any difference of privilege after a certain point, because they're able to enter into mainstream aspirational careers rather than being confined to a different box of vocational careers like being a plumber or an accountant. While I respect all of these jobs, but it looks like these are two boxes, right? I mean, a box of people who have ability or means to fulfill their dreams,
Mhm.
another box of people whose only like their dreams do not matter, and what all they can do is to survive.
So
So
basically, you've taken that money quotient out. That money is not the reason if you really want to be something, and if you choose to be
yeah,
something, it's available for you.
yeah. I think more than money, the largely our challenges are in terms of um, what quality education really means. How do we make it accessible? So even if you're going to college, you're supposed to be already very, very good at your subjects. How do you, like at Navgurukul, we don't want to have the best of the talent. We want to have people who are struggling the most. And that's why it's very interesting, because we are not the first people in in the non-profit sector to say that. There are many schools which exclusively focus on people who are struggling or who are dropouts. So I think that's the space where we are also coming from.
Okay. So how do people receive you? What made people take your students into their companies, and and how
Yeah.
did I mean, people like Microsoft and all these kind of bigger companies started, donating to your company? What is that so
Yeah.
special about your space?
Yeah. So I think in terms of donations, there are few reasons because of which we end up being very lucky. So one, not many, IIT and all folks go into social sector. So there's some level of brand which comes to you, which helps you. Then what we're doing is pretty cool in terms of how we have marketed it. Like it's like you give us 1 lakh rupees, we'll get a girl from a very marginalized and possibly even from a vulnerable background, will get them a job as a software programmer within a year. And after they get a job, they will voluntarily pay forward for the education of the next child. So
Wow.
in 1 lakh rupees, you're able to do so much actually at the same time. So I mean, so I think that's what makes our model very interesting for people to contribute to.
So
Um,
have the students been able to pay you back?
yeah, we have already received, I think, 14 to 15 lakhs of donations from just the students itself,
Wow. And
and
they
we're
do,
receiving. Sorry.
and they're doing very well.
So I mean, they started typically 20,000 rupees salary, but then they get into 30, 40, 50, 60K also. So, but many of them are working in MNCs, bigger companies, many startups. But the good thing is they're on a path with it's sort of very evident that they would be able to accomplish whatever they want to. I mean, it's not beyond their reach anymore.
So what kick does that give you? What joy does that give you in your world? Like, if I may, because nothing
Yeah,
actually really mattered to you, and you didn't want to make big money. And
yeah.
what actually was here? What did you actually figure out about yourself was so different, and what actually made you relax and start this job and work with your friend and whatever
Yeah.
founders you had?
I think even with our students, it would be, I think it would be sort of honest to say that I don't feel equally invested in each student. I mean, there are students who really, they really take your breath away. You know that their journey is something which needs to be respected, which needs to be told, and you don't want to be telling that journey on their behalf, right? I mean, and unfortunately, we do that all the time in social sector. And to give you a very simple analogy, um, so there's a very good conversation going on around feminism and Me Too, etc., and women empowerment. So, but even with all those conversations in women empowerment panels, we have male sometimes dominating the conversation and even heading those panels, or maybe even forming majority of the panel. Especially true if you're talking about technology and women empowerment. I mean, most of the panels will be led by males, and that is something that people have started raising questions against. But the same thing happened when we are talking about problems of people in rural areas. How many rural areas are coming to these forums and talking about the problems that they are facing? It's almost 99% people from urban areas like me who try to represent people from rural areas. And it is not to again put myself or people who are doing this change into shame, but to also acknowledge that we are representing someone else. But ultimately the solution should come when it is them who represent them. So whatever solutions we are doing, it like in times of corona, for example, short-term aid, it has its own advantages and very important. There's nothing denying that. But if you move out of that crisis situation, you need to figure out long-term ways of making that happen. And I think that's something that gives me a kick. So when someone when a student tells me, or they share the journey and they tell me that they want to do something, you know, especially important to their community, um, I think that's one place where I really feel like, oh, this is what I want to do. And sometimes I make fun of make fun in the team that even for if I were to teach these 5 students, I would be far more happier than anything else. I mean that 100 students sometimes don't matter. When those 5 students were so sensitive about their communities, that gives me hope. That gives me happiness. Yeah.
Do you want to say anything around this corona situation and how people are dealing with it, and how your students and the people at that community level are dealing with it versus from the urban areas, and what has been provided and what are you doing for that?
Yeah. So we are not really responding to Corona in a very specific way right now. As an organization, we decided to focus more on the long-term goals instead of focusing on the short-term aid, because there are many organizations which are already doing it and they're doing it reasonably well. So we didn't think we have a lot of value there to offer. And our focus remains to be on higher education. While it may look like education is collapsing and rebuilding in some ways. So our response is mostly to build or adapt in terms of, let's say, building online classes, introduction programs, etc. So that ultimately, when the corona situation is away, there's a big pipeline of girls who can immediately join our courses, and the time that is going on right now is not wasted, and they're already learning. So we are training about 200 girls right now online, and we aim to reach about a number of thousand in next 2 to 3 months.
You have how many students right now?
So we have about 100 students in our campuses, residential campuses, and 200 students learning remotely. Um, and we have funding for another 250 students. Just that we're not able to start these centers because we're waiting for the situation to get better in terms of operational efficiencies.
So how did you start it, if I may ask, financially? Was it like you
Yeah.
didn't have any support from anybody? So how did you start?
Um, I think we had some support because we had rich friends and alumni. So it was basically an act of, I think it was an act of being shameless, of reaching out to people and say, I need money, and I'm doing this. And advice really helped. So there was this person, a friend, who advised me that when you're doing something for society and when you ask money for it, you're not asking money for yourself, and be very clear about it. So probably you should feel shameful when I have to ask something for me. Probably, even
Would
that may
you?
not. I mean, so let's say if I go and ask something for myself, maybe shame is fine, or I don't know. I mean, that's a different concept. But if I'm asking money for not Navgurukul, which is essentially a society initiative, then I should not be feeling shame. And I think that understanding really helped me, because then I would, mercilessly chase my friends and alumni and tell them, sir, you have to donate, or whatever, you have to donate it. There are people who donated 20,000, 50,000, 1 lakh rupees also. We do have, people who continue to sort of support us like that, for
Wow.
which we are very, very
So
generous.
very small. How many students did you start with, Abhishek?
We started with only 7, 8 people actually. It was a small 3 BHK, and we just wanted to observe, because we didn't know if it will work out. We didn't know if people at that baseline of academics would be able to get a job, or would they have a very stunted career. And we wanted to be sure that they will not be stunted in the growth that they'll have. Unfortunately, that happened. And actually, many of our students from that batch have already paid 1.2 lakhs each. So they have already paid entirely for their education to
Wow.
support someone else. And most of them are earning 30, 40, or 50, 60,000. Like they're very good positions as well in their companies.
Amazing. And looking forward from here, what is your target like? Where are you heading to, and what do you require? And is this enough for you, or do you want more to
No,
be
no,
added?
no, not at all enough. I think I'm a very scale obsessed person. Last 3 years, I think me and my co-founder, we used to. So my co-founder is more of how do we build something of very strong values and quality. While I sort of obviously agree and demand that, but I think scale is very critical to me. Um, and my vision is very simple. I want to build a place where education is very frugal, so that I can support education of a big number of people. There is no exam, no teachers, etc., so that the stress factor, etc., are all removed away. If at all we want to have staff, we want to have people who are building love and relationships in that campus. The community feeling is the most important factor. Um, so that's how the center should
How are you
culturally function.
managing the technology plus the human emotions and feelings
Yeah.
together?
So I think we use technology for our processes and systems, but for everything else we use culture. Um, and so, for example, when people come and they want to learn about, or I mean, we do a lot of work on gender, for example. So in case of gender, we don't teach them, okay, this is the model that you have to learn, etc. It's mostly doing, like we have a lake nearby. We bought life jackets for them, and it's just so much fun to watch them take a big run and then jump into the lake. And I still remember one time that so these are mostly girls in Bangalore campus, and most of them, they were never allowed to swim at their in their villages, because it was mostly men who could do that. And when that happened, so I mean, there was a fun time we went to the lake, and almost the entire campus was with us. So we bullied everyone to go to the lake, so that they all have a flavor of it once of that jump. And when we reached the lake, there were so many snakes inside, and I got scared. Like I was like, I cannot jump when there are so many snakes. And then these girls are like, भैया सांप ही तो है, मतलब काटे मतलब कुछ करेंगे थोड़ा ना, सांप ही तो है, बस पानी को ऐसे हिलाओ एंड जंप कर जाओ. And I was like, I cannot jump. And interestingly, none of them knew how to swim. I was the only person who knew how to swim. So I used to be the first person who used to jump, see the depth, etc., and then do that. And that was the day then actually a few other girls jumped, basically, because I was scared. So you really like something when they really they really outsmart you. They really do far better than you. Another instance I remember is I talk very fast, so sometimes people don't understand what I say. Most of the times, actually. So me and Rani, one of my students, we went to give a talk on Josh Talks platform, um, and 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 the people over there were my friends. So I thought they will publish me. So interesting email came. They never published me. They published Rani, one of my students, and her videos
Wow.
already got 500,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah, and when you see that, that gives you happiness, because and when you talk to Rani, she's someone from immigrated from Bihar, used to live in a very small house, and now she's taking care of all her siblings, of extended family. and she wants to be sarpanch in her village, and she's just 19 right now.
Wow.
um, and with this video of 5 lakh views, that kind of confidence they have, and that's what we
What
work towards.
actually makes companies take students from you who don't have certificates, who don't have not been through exams? So what actually really pulls companies to your people, like your students?
I think one there's a stronger acceptance in technology area to get people without degrees. People care more about skills than technology.
Mhm.
So that is one thing that works to our advantage. But other than that, it is mostly sales. Like it's literally like standing in a mall with a pickle box and saying, "Oh, we are selling pickles. Please try it out, and if you like it, please buy it." So it's literally like that. We have students.
You have
Please
been
interview.
willing to go to every level, Abhishek. What I see about you is the beauty is that you're willing to go to any and every level to have what you
Yeah,
have.
we spam people all the time.
This is so amazing. And if I may ask, what makes you run away from media and the money? I know how money is following you and how media is following you, and people inquire about you and reach to you. So what is that that makes you run? And you have never paid heed to the media, and you've never paid heed to the money. So what is that about? All about?
Mhm.
I mean, I have always been saying that
Right.
money follows joy.
So
So you've been like a great example, and I've been really inviting people to come and join this talk show. Give a perspective on that, please.
right. So I think, as I mentioned, it's not that I don't like money or I hate money. It's just that I'm not willing to work for money unless I want to work on it. Like, I just want it to be a very conscious decision that at this moment, do I choose to work for money and does it give me happiness? And it may give me happiness to other means. Maybe by the clever use of money, it may give me happiness. But unfortunately, when I started unraveling like my happiness, money didn't have a place, like most of the times. Because when I started working on my appearances, for example, I didn't care about clothes. When I started working on diet, most of the food items didn't make sense to me. I mean, I just didn't feel like spending money on them. It didn't give me happiness. Sometimes I still crave for expensive cheesecakes, but that's sometimes. Most of the times I don't want them. Most of the times I'm happy with my simple diet and all of that. So I think it's almost like one for me. It was a question to really understand what do I need, and I didn't want to work more than that. And I still want to buy a house in a rural setting and build my own mud house basically. And
Wow.
and and for that I need money, and for that I think I've raised sufficient money in my life. So I don't need more than that. I have sufficient money for that, so I feel happy. So maybe if something else will come and I need to acquire money, I'll acquire. But I think as you have rightly mentioned, money really follows if you really grow, because ultimately people like to give money to people who are growing, who are really into whatever they do. And I think the way I sometimes say is this: in schools, someone gives us 8 out of 10 marks and tell them that you don't know two things. It doesn't work like that in jobs or in businesses. You're not remembered for what you don't know. You're remembered for what you know very well.
Wow. That is so amazing, guys. Did you hear that? You're remembered for what you know, not for what you don't know.
Right.
That is,
I think it's just very interesting because in schools they're completely reversed. Like if someone does not like history and they like maths, they're punished for not liking history. Right? But the jobs don't work like that. If you're a good mathematician, you work as a good mathematician. Even mathematician even afford to say, "Oh, I don't like geometry. I just like calculus, so I'm going to be a calculus person." And that's where job actually demands a lot of depth and passion. So if you're really into something, you will make money if you really want to. And I think obviously there's a journey to it. Some people will have a slower journey, some people will have a faster journey, but the journey is always typically I think increasing if you are doing it well.
ever get frustrated? Do you ever get frustrated of any?
Um,
Because you don't have any fear of losing anything, what I see.
yeah, I think sometimes I get frustrated when I talk to a lot of people. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I am someone who, I think, identifies myself as an introvert, but my work requires me to do a lot of people work, like talking to a lot of people, always managing something or other. And sometimes that management is frustrating because you have to constantly follow up, you have to constantly remind people that this is how communication works, this is how you do that. And I would admit that I'm not the best teacher. I mean, I become impatient when I sometimes I'm trying to teach something and I feel why they're not just getting it. And I know I have to work on it. But as I mentioned, I've started recently giving myself some space to say, okay, fine. My anger is also, I mean, there, and I don't need to put myself into the box of shame. But I think I do get frustrated sometimes when the things are not of the quality or of the kind of mark that I expect them to be, and that obviously happens reasonably frequently when you're running an organization.
Then what do you do? That is, what is your one go-to tool at that time when you're frustrated? How do you actually bring yourself up and like keep going on?
I try to disengage from the situation and meditate for some time before I come back. But if in case I end up saying something which I should not be saying, or I end up being harsh, I think again I say um, I acknowledge that I said something and what I feel is real, what you feel is real, but I need some break. So again, then I go for a 10 minutes or 20 minutes meditation break. I really sit with myself and um, go back to that person and I say, I apologize for the words I used, but what I felt was still important, and we need to work on that.
So you mean acknowledgement is the key to magic? So acknowledgement.
It's really helping me. It's really helpful to me. And I think it came from an experience where there was this time, again, because sometimes passion brings anger also, because you're so passionate about something. When it doesn't happen, you
Yeah.
feel emotionally hurt about it, or anger sometimes. So gender has been something I feel passionate about. A friend of mine, and someone basically misbehaved with her in a very inappropriate way, almost like a way which could have put him into bar. Um, and I used to feel a lot of anger. Like I used to, even when I was eating my food, the thought of that person would come, and I would become so angry that I'll just finish my food and go back and sleep. And obviously, it was not helping me. It was very hurtful to me. And I think till that point of time, I used to be very uncomfortable with my anger or my frustration. And then I went to one of my Vipassana courses, and I was talking to my Guruji over there, and I said, and every time it's a new person, so very different insights. So I told him all of this, and I said, I feel very angry and I don't like it. And he says, are you Gautam Buddha by any chance? I said, no, I'm not Buddha. So he said, how do you expect yourself to not be angry? It's a
Oh,
part of your emotions, and you cannot deny yourself of that emotion.
allow yourself to be
Allow
angry.
yourself, and yeah, and acknowledge that you're being angry, and maybe you can do better, maybe you cannot. So I think that advice really helped me, and it stayed with me, and I still try to follow it to a large extent.
Wow, that's amazing. And to be on the naughtier side, as you have been avoiding money and you have been avoiding media, have you been avoiding women?
No, yeah, I mean, I
I'm
think it's
sure you of that too.
yeah, I think it's a lot of lack of clarity. I think it's a problem that this sector can also give you, because sometimes you come across as a person who's so clear, who knows so much, who is so aware, while that is not true. Because ultimately, where you're broken is very similar to everyone else, right? Um, so this, I think, and this is something I've gotten as a feedback in my past relationships. I think um, it's just not just fairly just my understanding, but a shared understanding, unfortunately. But I think this this confidence can be very deceptive, but it allows you to sometimes get into an intimate circle very quickly.
Wow.
And again, I don't want to blame myself for that, but also it can create a chaos or a confusion, because someone might feel attracted to you while they may just feel attracted to the space that you have been able to build for them.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of fancy that people takes sometimes to different ideas, different imagination, or different kind of people. So how do you separate that from love? I think is something that I still have to understand fully. And it happens two ways. Like, sometimes I meet very interesting people in social sector, and it's just like, oh, like this is who I should be with for a long, long time.
Maybe
And
the
sometimes
next
it weirds
time
it off.
you're on the talk show, you probably have one, and then we have experience around that. But also, I remember that when me and you had a little conversation, that you had a little bit around the insensitivity of the society towards little things that we just say and be, but we don't really work on it. So, would you like to say a bit about it? What you feel and what you expect, and what is that you're really asking and desiring the world to be?
Yeah, I think it's something I'm still trying to understand fully, but um, sometimes I feel a lot of unease when people are refusing to act and they're just talking all the time. And I do feel that a lot of problems that are there because we don't want to spend sufficient time thinking about them or working on them. And it's almost like a machinery which supports it, which keeps you busy, which keeps you occupied, which keeps you in consumption. But sometimes I feel frustrated with that, because ultimately all of us suffer because of it. When you go to it's almost like you go to a hill station and you see a lot of kachra around there and plastic around there, and you feel bad, why we are doing this. But this similar attitude carries over to almost each part of our
Right.
activities, right? Even clothes we wear, just the footprint of those clothes is pretty high. And again, it does not mean that we all shift to a lifestyle where we have just 2 pair or 3 pair of clothes and we live with that. I just feel that there has to be some way of working on whatever appeals to you. And nobody can work on everything, right? I mean, how do you work on your clothes, your plastic, your ideas about women, your ideas about your job, your work? I mean, everything you cannot challenge. It's actually not easy to challenge, and there's a lot, and people are trying to change. I think they're also going through a lot of fatigue right now, because every way they try to push
What
themselves.
do you get this fatigue is all about?
Sorry.
What do you get this fatigue and boringness is all about?
I think sometimes it's about because you have higher standards for your own self, and sometimes you're not able to fulfill them, and it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel, oh, I've been trying to work so hard on this and still it's just not improving. I think it goes again back to similar ideas that we've been talking, like how do you be patient with yourself, how do you not shame yourself, how do you not blame yourself, how do you tell yourself, oh, you have been working, you've been trying to figure this out, maybe give this chance. And then again, and it goes back to just a previous statement, that how do you then extend a similar patience to other people as well, like because they are also going through their own journeys, like, and especially like I've seen this with my family. um, like I had some values and views that came from a family, and it took me a lot of time to challenge them. When my parents still hold on to similar views, and when they express those views, how do I react to those views? Because sometimes it's a lot of frustration and anger, and even shouting at times, and it's not appropriate. I don't want to shout at myself. I don't want to shout at them, and I want to work on it. I'm trying to work on it, but you feel that fatigue that I still am not able to. So I think it's just almost
So
always this
what's the
balancing
way
act.
out? What's the way out that you figured out of this fatigue?
Um, I think I've been self figuring this out, so I'll not say I've figured it out. But largely, what's working for me is to have time for my own self, because I know that the moment I am trained, it's very easy. It's very hard for me to take care of anyone else.
Yeah,
So,
I know
so
it sounds weird, right, Abhishek, that when we say being selfish can be the greatest gift.
yeah, I
But,
agree.
but you have been the walking, talking example of being selfish within and then actually creating from that space.
Yeah,
Because you're actually so fulfilled with yourself and you're actually taking the charge and responsibility of yourself, that's when you start changing everything around you. And I'm so like really impressed with your whole this thing, and I really love it. And I wonder if that is a
yeah.
contribution to the world. But yes, so what would you like to say more about to the world, and what are your few tips that you would like to give to the world and expect them to be?
Um, I don't have a particular tip to give. I think I just reiterate what I'm reiterating to myself. Take care of yourself, and everything will be taken care of. And as you rightly mentioned, do it in a way which is selfish and wise, so that while you do that, you don't hurt someone else.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's not something which is a binary answer. We're still learning. We still end up hurting people. And if that happens, just give yourself some patience and still try to work on it. I mean, all these are things I'm trying to say to myself continuously. So probably
Yeah. No,
just
that's a great.
repeating as a reminder. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way. So, what is it now that Navgurukul is looking, and how many? If I just wanted to know, like, how many students do you have from? Are they from every part of the country? How do
Yeah.
people connect to you, and what is the criteria of getting into that schools? Would you like to say a bit about yourself, and would you like people to connect to you for that?
Right. So we, I mean, are trying to set up more centers. But right now we have 2 centers, one in Bangalore, another in Dharamshala. Bangalore is for girls, Dharamshala is for boys. We work a lot in diversity. So we are basically getting these students from almost throughout the country. So we have students from almost 15, 16 different states of the country. We unfortunately don't have any representation from Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, northeastern states, and Jammu and Kashmir right now, but we're trying to work heavily towards it. We have students who are into domestically abusive relationships, and then they left their marriages to join us. We have HIV positive students. We are trying to get students who are transgender. So there's a lot of work that we do on diversity. We recently partnered with Delhi government. I mean, sorry, not Delhi government, Delhi Commission for Women, to get access to more people who have suffered because of harassment or rapes or something like that. Ultimately, our passion lies in being able to work with people who have been trafficked or who have been completely denied an opportunity and unfortunately are completely missing from our system, basically. Um, so diversity is, I think, is really the core part of our DNA. Even in our team when we were hiring, initially when I and Rishabh started it, we were not very clear about diversity, both guys. But now, for example, almost 15 months ago, we decided that we are going to pay more salaries to women than men. And fortunately, that is happening from last few months, and we intend to keep it that way. And that was hard because initial team was mostly males, but then we had to completely flip it. And now we are trying to set up more aggressive goals in terms of building diversity in our own team. And it's also a lot of things we're trying to understand, like, because it's not necessarily equality, it's equity as we call it in social sector. So we're still trying to understand some of these ideas on how do we do it, how do we
So
create
what
a
is
more
the
inclusive
kind of
environment.
code that you're asking the society and the world to give to you? What contribution can we be to you?
Right, I think we I think it's just a lot of it can be to just know what we're trying to do, um, and share that with your friends and see if you want to volunteer or someone else want to volunteer. It's a very very open space. We literally have volunteers who are part of our core team, where even some of our team members are not actually. So we are a very open organization, and we are always working with volunteers. Almost 40 to 50% of our organization is built by volunteers all the time. So if anyone wants to wish to donate or volunteer, we would love, we would love it that happens, and happy to discuss in through conversations more about it with people who are interested. They can reach out to us. Just go through our website, send an email, and we'll come back to you.
And the last question: how do you make money for your own living?
So right now, we do get paid some basic sustenance salary from Navgurukul, all of our team members. And that, I mean, we were not paid for, I think, almost initial 2 years of the organization, but we obviously wanted to make sure that we do it for 10 or 20 years. So we thought, paying that basic salary is important. And that easily takes your sustenance. I don't spend any money. My monthly spend is less than 5,000 rupees.
Wow.
I mean, in Corona, it's almost zero. Without Corona, it's 5,000 or 10,000 rupees a month maximum.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, I mean,
You
supporting
think
myself is easy.
survive 5 to 10,000 is enough, Abhishek?
I think it's just my current thing, and mostly it's spent on travel. Just that again, as I mentioned, like when I stay in campuses, I get free food. When I stay at my home with my parents, I get free food.
And you love that. And you love that.
Yeah, I don't like to cook, and I'm very comfortable with eating whatever. So I am not a picky person about it. As
Is
long
that
as
the same thing with your co-founders? And is it like with everyone? Are you so simple, all of you?
I think most of us are, but there's a different degree to it. Um, Also, again, sometimes it changes. Like sometimes there are months when I feel like, oh, this month I need to, like, Abhi right now, for example, I was thinking I'll just shift somewhere else, and I was planning to increase the budget to 20,000 rupees a month and shift to an Airbnb and stay there. But I am pretty much sure that I don't need a lot more. I mean,
Love the ease of money you have in you, and you're like, okay, I can do this in this 10 seconds, and then the 10 seconds I can take up my money and go wherever and I'm gonna
yeah, and I think a lot of it happened because intellectually I had to, I really started breaking everything initially, and then fortunately it started coming with experience. But it's not that I try to curb my needs. I don't curb my needs. It's genuinely not having them right now.
so you do not have it. It's not that you're stopping yourself from anything.
And that was a journey. I mean, when I started, it was actually trying to sometimes tell me, oh, you should not eat this, or you should not wear this, or you should not spend
Mhm.
so much. But I think it's not any of that right now. It's literally, I don't know, it doesn't make me happy.
Wow. So just keep going is what makes you happy, and your passion makes you happy, and that gets you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. That is such a beautiful journey, and I'm still like mesmerized with your whole thing. And I wish you all the very best for your Navgurukul and every move and every passion that you follow. It's so amazing, so contributing, and I'm sure the younger generation would really get a lot from it. And so did I, and I'm sure I did. I wonder about others. So, guys, you can we have all the links of Abhishek. If you want to connect to him in the chat, you guys can connect. So here he has been an example where money is not the problem, you are, and you have to choose for greater and create greater in life, and everything follows. So I hope this was contributed to all of you. And I'm really thankful to all of my team, Sonali, Parita, Ritu, and Shivangi for supporting me in all these talk shows and everything I do and be. Grateful to each one of you. And guys, after the show finishes at 8 o'clock, 8 to 8:15 every day, I am doing this sad call, which is everybody who's going through the sadness, anxiety, and depression and have their questions. Just to change something different, what Abhishek just said, that follow your heart. There's a different possibilities rather than staying in the sadness. So come join me in those 15 minutes every day. I'm here every day from 8 to 8:15 on Be the Change page live until 20th. Any questions are more than welcome. So after this call finishes, I'll be there at 8 o'clock and I see you in person if you would like to join me for that. Thank you, Abhishek, again.
Thank
Great
you, Rana. Yeah.
for choosing it and what else is possible in the future. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.